Please stand. Hand over heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Director Malloy,
Here.
Director Mishler,
Here.
Director Dixon,
Here.
Director Magner. Here. Chairman Kelly.
Amendments to the agenda, anyone?
Remove item 5D.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make-
Amendments 5D.
I'll make a motion to accept the amended agenda.
Second.
Director Magner.
Aye.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. Presentations, district highlights.
Good evening, Chairman Kelly and members of the board. Megan Hamlin, Administrative Analyst. Tonight I'm going to give you the district highlights. So we're going to start with special events. So we have first up, we have our Easter extravaganza coming up on Saturday, April 20th. It will be at the Community Center Park with lots of eggs this year, over 20,000 food trucks, crafts, entertainment, games, and of course, the Easter Bunny. We have our Food Truck Festival coming on Saturday, May 25th. It'll be in the evening time from 4 to 9, again at the Community Center with food trucks, entertainment, kids' activities, games, and both of these events are still accepting applications for craft and food vendors. So our summer concert series that's coming up this summer, we have 4 dates scheduled: June 29th, July 27th, August 24th, and September 21st. These concerts will be at Constitution Park. They will begin at 7:30, and the community has spoken, and we have 4 different genres of music: rock and roll, rhythm and blues, country bluegrass, and reggae and calypso. The band application process is open right now, and it will be closing on March 20th. And if anybody is interested in sponsoring this event, they can go to our website at pvrpd.org and get information for that. Another event coming up is our 50 Plus Expo. This is a big event, widely attended. It'll be on May 7th, again at the Community Center, at the auditorium. It's free to attend. We'll have 70 plus exhibitors, art gallery, live music. There'll be health screenings there, and somebody can get lunch if they'd like for just $5. So our aquatic center, we have swim lessons starting. So if you have not registered your children, go ahead and get them registered now, because this begins on March 11th. And our pool is reopening. We have our big ceremony on March 23rd from 1 to 4, and there will be free recreational swim during that time. And we have 2 new things happening at the pool. We have the drop-in, this is a tongue twister for me, drop-in inner tube water polo, and that will be on Saturdays for kids that are 16 and over from 3:15 to 4:15. And then starting this Friday, after school at the pool from 2:30 to 5:30 for kids 7 to 15 years old. So classes and camps. So anybody who's interested in being a contract instructor for any types of new classes, we're looking for them, so come apply with us. And so outdoor education. So if anybody, did you see our nature fact of the month on our Facebook? If you didn't, like us on Facebook so that way you can see those. They're really awesome. As well as you can see our regrowth out at Camarillo Grove Park. From the months after the fire. And we're also going to be having this fire ecology class on March 16th. And you can come and learn about the local effects from the Hill Fire. And you can come and you can witness for yourself the nature of the regeneration of what's going on out there. More for classes and camps. We had Read Across America on March 2nd at the Community Center. And the children enjoyed story time, some free crafts, book swap. They were able to read to the dogs. We had partners with us like the Camarillo Library, Mrs. Figg's Bookstore. Arsenal comics and games, Love on a Leash, and some local authors joined in on that event. Dos Camino classes. This month's theme is bugs, nuts, and bolts, as well as Dr. Seuss. And there may be some pretty cool community helpers stopping by. And the classes fill up pretty quick out there, so remember to get signed up early. Adult sports, we have pickleball. Registration ends this week, March 8th, and league starts March 21st. And adult basketball league, registration ends March 11th, and league play will start on March 18th. Senior Center, the spring dance, April 16th at the Community Center from 12:30 to 2:30, and this is free. And there will be music by seniors of note, and of course there will be dancing and some light refreshments. And our big rummage sale, Saturday, April 13th at the Community Center parking lot. And this is a great place to come if you want to buy something or you want to sell something. You can get 1 space, 2, or 3 spaces. And if you would like to reserve your spot, call the Senior Center at 805-482-4881. Some more stuff for the Senior Center. The Ayurvedic approach to build immunity and vitality will be on March 12th at 1 p.m. So this is how you can learn a unique perspective to help balance aspects of your body by combining ancient knowledge with modern science. Now, the Pachenka Casino excursion. If you have not signed up, sign up, because this is a popular one. I'm pretty sure this sells out all the time. You go, you get to enjoy all the casino slot machines, the video machines, the tables. It's only $35. That must be a steal of a price. Again, call the Senior Center to reserve your seat today. The movie lunch. I might go to this, because the movie, April 4th at noon, the Community Center Auditorium, showing Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, sponsored by Tony's Pizza in Camarillo. Marketing, our activity guide. It's underway right now, and this will be our May through August. And this is scheduled to hit mailboxes early April, and it's got a ton of new classes and activities, so keep your eye out for this. And Parks Department. So our Springville Dog Park, the irrigation was completed. And so now the staff are working on the grading and prepping the grass for the next section of the top seating. In Nancy Bush Park, the concrete pad was poured for the new pavilion that will be able to seat up to 40 people. So now for the district spotlight, I'm going to introduce Lanny, and he's going to take over from here.
Thank you, Megan. Chairman, members of the board, tonight for District Spotlight, we're going to do something a little different. I'd like to announce that we won an award with the Southern California Municipal Athletic Federation, Channel Cities Municipal Athletic Association, which is just an association of SMAF. We were recognized for fun-free events in July. This was introduced to us by our recreation manager, Eric Story, to the Recreation Department, who challenged us with coming up with one free event each day in July. So the staff took it upon ourselves to come up with new and things we don't normally do. There were some things we normally do, such as the concerts or movie night, but we challenged ourselves with new programming. So each division came up with a new event, such as Library in the Park at Valley Lindo, a skate park event at Bob Kildee, the Root Beer Run at Pleasant Valley Fields, a cornhole tournament at the Community Center, a bingo bash that took place on a different day in the Senior Center, preschool open house at Dos Caminos, disc golf at Heritage Park, augmented reality game at Camarillo Grove, and a dog park day at Springville Park. We also incorporated some of our events, and I already mentioned those. We worked with the city on the 4th of July. We kind of incorporated their event as part of one of the days. And our contract instructors also got into the act by providing a sunset guided hike at Camarillo Grove, a splash of yoga at the Aquatic Center, pickleball courts grand opening at Bob Kildee, the yoga in the park at Arneal Ranch, and Tai Chi for Health at the Community Center. So it was a lot of fun to see these events come to place, and that was our calendar for last year. And we look forward to bringing some of these new events back this summer. And you can see our summer activity guide when it comes out, or go to our website at www.pvrpd.org. And the award that we got this little glass plaque. So if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is, if we can kind of get you guys in front, and we'll take a quick picture, and we'll be done with this. Thanks. Any questions? So as I got them, as I was going up.
Take the photo first and then come back.
Anthony, can you take a picture from me?
I'm not in this picture, so.
We know you're not in this
I'm not
picture.
gonna be in this picture.
I think you and Eric both need to be in this picture.
It's a solid crystal.
It's like solid crystal.
There you go. All right, there we go.
Oh, it took the.
All right, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Where am I seeing? Oh. So I am. Wrong phone. Looks exactly the way.
Almost done. Chairman Kelly, members of the board, tonight I'd like to introduce the Camarillo Cosmos track president, Lisa Willard. She'll be doing her annual update for the Camarillo Cosmos. Lisa.
Skip the questions.
Thank you, everyone, for having us here tonight. My name is Lisa Willard. I'm the president of the Camarillo Cosmos, and Connie Sloan is our treasurer. She helped me put together the financial report that you should have received from us. I also have with me here tonight Cliff Salonga, who will be our 2020 president. So I recognize a lot of faces from last year. I just want to give you an overview of what we've been doing this past year. Our registration fees, we have been able to keep those the same as they've been in recent years. So I have just a breakdown of where those fees go to. The registration is $115 per athlete, and then there's a uniform fee in addition to that. Our board for this year remained much the same. We did have a few board members whose kids either aged out of the program or did not return to the program because they were busy with other activities. We added a new secretary as well as our volunteer coordinator and our head team parent. One of the things that I feel like Cosmos does well as an organization is we do plan for what's coming next. So myself knowing that my daughter's in 8th grade, she's going to be going to high school next year, we find someone who's going to be the president next, we bring them on, we have them shadow. That way they're able to hit the ground running next year without that steep learning curve of being new to everything. Our administrative staff here, this is all remains the same. Our advisor, Lee Stivers, is actually a testament to the Cosmos program in that his kids, I think his youngest daughter is a sophomore this year, so he hasn't had anyone in the program for a couple of years, but he still plays a big part for us. We have about 65 parents who are acting in a role as coaches or team parents, meaning that they are background checked and doing the volunteer application through the county board. All of our parents volunteer for meets. We had most of our coaches from last year return this year. We did have a few who, of course, aged out, but all of our other head coaches either stayed with their group or moved up. We did have a couple of new people to add, which was great to see. This is just a breakdown of our final roster for this year. We have 300 athletes, which is the cap per the VCYTC, per our county board. And I wanted to just focus on athlete recognition. One of the things that we do in Cosmos is we celebrate successes. So I didn't put these in a great order for you, but starting on the bottom in the middle is a practice t-shirt that every athlete receives as part of being with Cosmos. Above that is our series of ribbons. These are from our dual meets. So at every dual meet, we hand out ribbons for different places that the athletes place. On the far right of that is the purple ribbon, which is the personal record ribbon. So at every meet, if an athlete gets a personal record, they get that ribbon with their new time on it. So they're able to see themselves advance through the season. At the end of the season, in the top left, we have our plaques, which show their best marks from the season. So we've been doing this for about 3 years now. So athletes that participate, they can see their improvement from year to year. In the top right, For our kids who run the mile, we have what we call our sub-club shirts. So if you run a sub-7 mile, sub-6, or sub-5, you get a special T-shirt. We had 2 athletes last year who ran a sub-5, so we were able to hand out 2 of those T-shirts. And then on the bottom, on the left and right, is what we call our Cosmos Girl and Cosmos Boy Award. That goes to an outgoing athlete who's going to be going to high school. Usually they've been with the program for quite a while, but they really exemplify what Cosmos strives to be. So usually it's someone who has athletic success, but also has character and displays leadership in their group. Some of the ways that we're partnering with the high schools, we do work with the booster clubs at both Rio Mesa and Camarillo High School to sponsor banners in the stadiums each year. Because we're practicing at Camarillo High School, we also work with Mary Perez, the athletic director, to help with any upgrades that they may need for the track program. Last year, I think I announced that we had donated or helped donate a new set of starting blocks. Before that, it had been a couple of years since we'd made any big donations, and so this year we really wanted to do something a little bit above and beyond. We were able to pair with the Boosters Club at Camarillo High School to work on getting a new set of hurdles and a new high jump pit. So these are the new hurdles. They were delivered in the last 2 weeks. They're, I'll say, the most current hurdles that are available. They are a lot safer for the athletes because they don't have to be weighted when you move them up or down or up and down the track. And then they're also just a lot easier and a lot more lightweight to have to carry around. On the hurdles themselves, of course, it says Camarillo in the middle, and then it has the Scorpion logo on one side and the Cosmos logo on the other side. The high jump pit previously, I'm told, was about 10 years old. So this was something that had been requested, but no one knew where it was going to come from. So we were able to work with AAE, who manufactured both the hurdles and the high jump pit, to put that program together. And you can see our bantams having a lot of fun on the mat there at the bottom. So I just wanted to finish off with some family comments. The first one, my son's been a Cosmos since he was a gremlin. We're sad that next season will be our final Go Cosmos. I'm in that same boat. I have an 8-year-old who I'm trying to convince to keep going, but I think baseball might win out. And so we do a survey at the end of each year to make sure that we are doing our job, that we have kids that want to come back. So we're just excited to see this kind of feedback from our families. So I can go ahead and answer any questions that anyone might have.
Yeah, thank you again for all the work you're doing. And it's organizations like yours, and of course ASO coming up next, that makes this community what it is, all the volunteers and stuff. My son and daughter went through your program. I mentioned that last year, and they had a great time. The only problem back then was I think the events were essentially like, I think they went on for our kids were always in the first and the last one every day.
I remember you saying they went till like 5 o'clock, right?
Oh yeah, we're up at 5 o'clock before we can take off. My question on your money, obviously, and some other people may have obviously seen this too. At the high school, that you're going up to $10,000. Is that because these are the new fees they're requiring or something for your budget coming up?
Oh no, that was.
Oh, that's the part.
That was the donation for the high jump.
Oh, okay.
For the hurdles and the high jump pit. So
Okay.
that's that is just for this year, and then
Okay.
that will go back. We usually budget about $1,000 per year, but because we had a surplus from the last few years, we wanted to go ahead and do that this year.
And but I remember on your first slide, I think you had $20 per player goes to the high school district, correct? To use their facility?
That is for the facilities.
And which line, that would be under facility rentals, I guess?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm like him. Thank you very much for what you do. I was reading a comment on Moms of Camarillo about some lady had just signed her daughter up for Cosmos, and her daughter was so excited that she was going to be running track. And I thought that's such a great organization to get young people into. So, and I think it's so important that they're active. So I do have one question. You mentioned that it's a cap of 300 by your county board. Is everybody capped at 300, and if so, why?
All of the different teams are limited to 300. It's a little bit of an arbitrary number in that I don't know where the number comes from. I do know that it's partially because of the lengths of the meets. So if you have too many athletes, then the meets would go on longer. It also has a little bit, I think, to do with different cities have different interest levels. So we just turned in rosters last night. We have 300, Ventura has 300, but then I think Newbury Park has 250, Moore Park has 200, Ojai has 100. So if we were allowed to be as big as we wanted, then you would have, we'd go to a meet and you'd have 4 Cosmos athletes for every 1 Ojai athlete.
Okay.
So it's just to kind of maintain that.
And how many cities are on the board or in the county?
This year there are 9 teams.
9 teams.
9,
Okay.
yeah, 9 cities have teams.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm kind of curious, do the other cities have the same relationship with the high school that you have? Because in my experience, it's a pretty unique relationship.
Well, you mean as far as with the being able to
Use of the facilities and
all
supporting
of
them.
all of the teams practice at their high school facilities. As far as working, I haven't heard of anybody having issues working with their high schools, but all of them now do practice at high schools.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is really great because it's helping them, and it's an expensive program relative to the number of participants, and upgrading the equipment really makes it safer for the kids too. So, and that joint logoing on our hurls, that's sharp.
We're very excited.
That's great
about
marketing.
That.
Yes, yes. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Well, like everybody else, thank you again for what you do. I had a question following up on what Director Magner was asking you about the 300 cap. Do you find that after you've reached your cap, you still have people trying to apply or wishing they could get in?
We do usually have a waiting list of between 100 and 125. So what we do is if people drop out of the program, then we backfill those spots up until the day that our final rosters are due.
125 is a pretty big number.
It is. Yeah.
Is there, the programs that have 250 or 100 participants in their programs, can they accept these? Do you ever refer them to those other programs?
Yeah, so what we usually do is we start registration at the beginning of November, and this year I gave them an update, I think just after Thanksgiving, letting them know if their athlete was in the top 10 on the waiting list or beyond the top 10. For the ones that were beyond the top 10, I also gave them a list of nearby programs and their website so that if they wanted to go and check out those other options, they could.
Okay. Oh, great. Well, thank you very much.
I just have one question. Do you track how many of your athletes end up on the local high school teams?
That's not something that we track, no.
That kind of surprises me that you don't do that.
We don't have any, I guess we don't have anything that we put on the website to show which schools or what accomplishments. I mean, I can tell you a couple of things that they're doing. Unfortunately, they're not in Camarillo, but.
Go ahead and tell us.
So Nico Young, who is a runner for Newbury Park High School, he at one point in the fall season had, I think, the fastest mile time in the country for high school boys. And he is a Cosmos alumni, and his brothers are actually in their last year of Cosmos right now.
Yeah, it would just seem to me it'd be good advertising, but it looks like you kind of had the In-N-Out Burger thing where you have that long line. So when people see that line, they want to join up. So having not enough spots to fill may end up working in your benefit. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, thanks for doing such a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Chairman Kelly, members of the board, tonight I'd like to introduce the new regional commissioner for ASO. Not so new, he's coming back and doing it again. But tonight I'd like to introduce Tim Asbell.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Director Kelly and the rest of the board members. Thank you for the opportunity to present our annual update. Okay, so Actually, I'll be installed as the RC April 1st, so I'm the elect. All right, so since 1964, our mission and vision has not changed. We've been around in Camarillo for quite a long time. So our first charter was back in middle of July, 75, and we've been around, and our main mission is to make sure everybody plays. We offer every single approved program from the national perspective, so we're very proud about that, including presenting Kid Zone. Highlights for last year's season is the breakdown is nothing's really changed, so we offer recreational soccer for our competitive teams, which is U10 through U19, and then our non-competitive teams, which is U6 through U8, including our VIP program, our very important players with special needs, and we offer a 10-week season during the fall. Here's our numbers. So call me Marty McFly because I'm back to the future. I actually started keeping these metrics from 2011 when I originally was the RC, so you can see our numbers, and I'm proud to report that 91% of our players are residents of the Pleasant Valley School District. We also service Somas and the Santa Rosa Valley, so you can see the zip codes there. So I know that's important to report out these type of metrics. And everybody plays. All right. We also offer a myriad of very different type of scholarships and make sure everybody plays. So we sponsor 100% of our very important players, which is our special needs, every year. In fact, I just received a series of emails from the County Area Housing Authority, and we're coming into agreement to sponsor those. Also, we offer for our fall core seasons, Spring League sponsorships, military family discounts that are in our policies and procedures, since we do have a large population in Navy bases, Ventura County, as well as military bases, Ventura County. And this year we're in development of partnering up with the county with foster parents to make sure those kids can play. Again, all of our membership goes through a series of training. Each of our volunteers have a job description, which is very important through National AYSO, and then each volunteer is trained to that job description: coach, assistant coach, referee, board member, as well as who run the background check. We do this through a learning management system in AYSO. It's called AYSO-U. So there's a combination of online courses as well as live instructor type of courses. In fact, later on this month, I'm heading down to our tri-section meeting, and I'm going to co-instruct three different sessions for the tri-section meeting. Safety is everybody's business. When it comes to AYSO, we definitely embrace the Kid Zone, and that's been part of our culture ever since we've been incorporated. Safety. A highlight here is several years ago we partnered with Ventura County Sheriff to develop a lost child protocol. We actually had to use that 5 different times this fall season, and the reason why we developed it is because of access, freeway access. So we partnered with Camarillo PD and the resource officer there. We came up with a whole scenario, and it works. So with the 5 occurrences in the fall season, we found all the kids within 5 minutes. I'm proud of that. Of course, our banner contest, as far as our culture's alive and doing well, this speaks to the creativity of our families here in Camarillo. So what was selected was the pink unicorn, chicken wings, coconut grass, monkeys. So that was our winner. So everybody has fun and everybody plays. We also conducted giving back to the community. We did the food share, and it was very different this year. We did have some teams that contribute, but it was significantly down. So we were able to donate some, but I don't know if we're going to continue that program. Of course, October is our breast cancer awareness month, and everybody participates and has fun with that part of our culture. Spring League. It's amazing our Spring League. It's a low-cost T-shirt league, and every year our teams get very creative and we find local sponsors with giveaways and so forth, and we actually judge the best uniform contest. So it's amazing, alive, and doing well. And we've come up with a contingency plan with our spring league. I'm very happy that California is experiencing a drought buster wet season. We definitely need it desperately as a state, and we understand, so we just came up with a contingency plan extending our season into April to make sure these kids play. Another thing about Spring League is our Spring League averages in between 400 to 600 kids on an annual basis, and our Spring League is actually as large as some of our neighbor regions. Fillmore, Santa Paula, our Spring League is as big as their regular fall season league, so we offer year-round soccer. This is a very busy slide. Gonna let you kind of take it in. So we have two main tournaments every year, the Strawberry Cup and the Camarillo Cup. And what's significant about that, we use all the local vendors and service providers that we can. So between the two tournaments, we invite thousands of people into Camarillo during those two events. And thank you for the great facilities, but we get all the local vendors involved. Okay. So it's for the kids. Everybody plays. Any questions?
Michael.
Hey, Tim, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And thank you again for stepping up and doing this as always and
Call me
working
Marty
hard.
McFly.
No,
I'm
I
Back
know.
to the Future.
And I guess it's in our handout, but you have like almost 800 volunteers that make the program work
That's true.
across the community and stuff. And there's all those safety checks and everything that have to go through and training for all that. And a lot of people don't realize all that effort and work that's done behind the scene before the ball's even kicked out there for all that. I just want to thank you for all that. And that's all. Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All I'm going to say is welcome back, Tim.
I just have a quick question on the budget numbers. I notice your tournament entries looks like it's down about half, your tournament entry expense. Are you hosting one that you normally paid to play in or something, and that's why it's lower? Or?
The tournament, you're talking about income?
Yeah, well, in the expense columns, last year you had 76,000 in tournament entries. In this year's budget, you have 32,000.
Oh, well, we're not having as much expenditures to put on the tournaments. So we're cutting back. I mean, there was some major expenses kind of blended in. I'm not an expert. You have to talk to our treasurer about this. But significantly for tournaments, we would pay a contractor to paint our fields. And our purchases included a robot painting. We actually have two available.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. And so we don't realize that's a quick example, Director Malloy, that we don't have to spend that money anymore.
Yeah, paint's a lot cheaper than labor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a fantastic machine.
It's pretty slick, yeah.
Yeah,
We've had some enhancements. We had problems with the GPS uplink, but we've got that worked out within a year.
Yeah, cool. All right, that's all I have.
Okay.
Well, good to see you again. First of all, I say this every year, but my kids, I had 5 boys that came through just about every sports program in the city, and ASO by far is my favorite, I think the best program in terms of service to the community of any organization, and congratulations for that. It's a program that has a space for every single person. Every kid is going to play, irregardless of what their abilities. And so I think we really need that in our community. Secondly, I promised your son that I was going to razz him on public television, and his son works with me at Pleasant Valley Hospital, and I was going to say all kinds of things about him to embarrass him, but he's a fantastic kid, and they should be very proud of him. I know he volunteers. He has in the past volunteered with ASO too.
I just recruited him back this year to be a coach.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks.
Well, first of all, thanks for coming back, Tim. We missed you. Although I did see you out there, still, this guy was out there, even though he finished up his RC duties, came back, was out there every weekend, and doing whatever he needed to do. And so I admire you for doing that. All I would really like to say is when Mike was in the last couple of years, slowly but surely, he was developing the field preservation things that we use out there, and I'd like to know, number one, are we going to continue that? I know a lot of the coaches have started to come along, and they now are helping out, and when everybody helps out, it just makes it a lot easier. Is that going to continue?
Oh, as long as I'm in charge, I'll make sure that that culture is thriving.
Then I have one suggestion. At your coaches meeting, discuss it with your new coaches, because every year we have a batch of new ones and we have to re-educate. Yeah. So
that's the challenge we'll take every year, is re-educate and understand our relationship with Park and Rec. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Again, glad to have you back.
Any more questions?
No, you're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, Tim, you want to introduce your co-worker, your partner here?
Come on up.
This is Jeanette Rosling. She's our child and volunteer vocational advocate. So she was just here to observe the board presentation.
Okay.
Sorry, Bart.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have public comment. I have to switch my glasses. Okay.
No.
There's one more?
Yeah.
No, that's been scratched. In accordance with Government Code Section 54954.3, the board reserves this time to hear from the public. If you'd like to speak about an item on the agenda, we prefer you complete a speaker card, give it to the clerk of the board, and wait until it comes up. If you'd like to make comments about other areas not on the agenda, in accordance with California law, we will listen, note them, and attempt to bring them back up at a later date for discussion. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes. I have 3 cards. Is there anyone else that has a card that wants to send up that hasn't? Not seeing any. I have 3 cards. It looks like they're all non-agenda items, so this is the appropriate time. First, I will have Josh Bernstein come up.
Do you mind if John goes first, and we're going to talk about the same thing?
Okay, we can do that. John Sullivan.
Actually, we wanted to talk about the Mel Vincent Park, the new bathroom that's being proposed to go in there. We didn't find out about it until the article in the Acorn. Not sure if it represents the local community. Obviously, some people might have asked about it, but the general community didn't seem to know about it. Financially, I don't understand it. It's it proposed a $140,000 commitment based on a much larger park that makes $9,000 a year, Mission Oaks. So that's 16 years to get your money back out of it if you don't maintain it, don't clean it, don't surface it with police to make sure that it's appropriately taken care of. And the architecture of it doesn't really match the community as well. So that was kind of a question I wanted to talk about. Last weekend they had it rented out apparently. They put in a portable bathroom, which seemed to be a very good solution, which doesn't give the community long-term maintenance costs. So I was wondering if it could be put back before the board to discuss and get a little more community input on. So I'll let Josh say his thing.
Chairman Kelly, board, I just want to echo what he said. We both moved to the Springville community recently, and we love the Mel Vincent Park. It's really great to live right there and have friends and family over. And we found out about this through the Acorn, and it was kind of a surprise. So we just wanted to see if it was something that could be brought up for more public opinion. I know in talking with neighbors, a lot of them have questions, and I think it would be great to understand a little more instead of just trying to guess at everything behind it. So thank you. Oh yeah, I mean, just to kind of I personally was curious where in the park it might be. If financially, if some of the things he brought up, maintenance, policing, all that kind of stuff had been factored into it. So again, that's why I think maybe another public hearing or something on it might be good, because I know there are a lot of questions. And I don't know if you have all that information today or.
I'm just going to make an inquiry.
Yeah.
Is your position that you don't want the bathroom there?
Well, yeah. I mean, on the surface, yes. I have reasons, and I'm happy to share them. But that's why I think
You still have a minute and 30 seconds, so go ahead.
well, I like how the park is very open. Even the pavilion is like kind of just thin columns, and you can look out across it, and it's just a beautiful community, even the homes. So I think kind of a building might be kind of just out of place there. But there's the concerns around just bathrooms, just if there's transients in the area, you have that problem that you may have to deal with. So there's financial and other, but I think myself and others just have those kind of questions, and it might be nice for us to maybe have some discussion, because like John said, we learned about it in the Acorn, and everybody who lives right there by that park is affected by that decision. So that's really it.
Okay. You still have 37 seconds. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it. I mean, quite frankly, when I purchased there, one of the things they pointed out was it's a lovely park. People could use it, and they use it. It's a wonderful way it gets used. But that it didn't have a bathroom to reduce the potential for vagrancy and those issues at night. And right in front of our house is not a place I want to have vagrancy issues going on.
I see.
I'll second that. Yeah, that was one of our purchasing decisions, was the nice open park without a bathroom. And I know others, same thing, in talking to people in the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Next card I have is Mary Edwards, who wants to talk about pickleball.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and say my little piece here. I'd like to thank you for your support of pickleball. It's a really fast-growing sport. It's a wonderful sport for all ages. And we have over 140 registered users. And people from all over the county come to our courts, as well as they find us on Facebook and meet up from all over the nation. They pack their paddle, they come and they play with us. It's pretty great. We love our courts, our dedicated courts at Kildee Park, but as you can imagine, on days like today, we need to move inside to play because the rain and heavy winds at times don't allow us to play outdoors. We understand that Freedom Gym is going to be sold at some point in time. We'll lose that facility. We also understand that, and I think this is a great creative solution, that an interim tent as a gymnasium might be put up. When I was at UCLA years ago getting a master's degree, they moved Powell Library, which is the undergrad library, they moved it into a tent for the renovation and earthquake retrofitting. They called it Towel Library. And it worked out well in the interim, so it's a great solution. In the Acorn, though, it didn't mention pickleball. It mentioned ping pong and basketball, so I wanted to get our little dibs in there to accommodate 2 to 4 courts. We're not greedy, but 2 to 4 courts to accommodate indoor play. In addition, we have members of our group that are older or that have feet and knee problems from a lot of athletics in the younger day. I know I'm one of them. And skin issues with the sun. So an indoor court and an indoor facility is really called for in future plans for whatever gymnasium's going to be put up, or a senior center, or whatever gym facilities are there. So we want to keep ourselves front and center because we are growing quickly. And in terms of going forward in the future, I know there are plans for Disdar Park, perhaps, and the courthouse facilities. I'd like to suggest that perhaps additional pickleball courts might be established in those areas to be able to maybe accommodate future regional tournaments, which could allow people to come and experience not only our Camarillo players, but also our city, which I think is a nice thing, and bring business. People go for lunch and all that kind of thing. So, you know, the consideration of perhaps adding on to what we already have in a fast-growing sport, that's why I'm here. So anyway, thank you very much.
One last thing. Disdar Park is owned by the city.
Okay.
Oh, in the courthouse site.
And the courthouse, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just putting a bug in everybody's ear.
Okay, that's fine. We get it.
And then
Thanks
just
for coming
another-
tonight.
Another background information there's a proposed new park that we're working out with the city and the developer over on the west end of town over by Springville. And there's a proposed new 5-acre park. And in our public meetings so far with the developer and stuff, we've all stated that pickleball courts is one of the things we want the developer to put in for that new park. Just to let you know. So that's already on the list for the new park.
That's wonderful news. Thank you. I'll pass that along to our membership, so thank you very much.
Do I have a motion on the consent agenda, or?
Actually, before we move on that, I have just a procedural question on that. I do have one short question about the consent agenda. Do we need to move that to the?
Sure.
Or can I just ask the question real quick?
Did you want to, are we?
What kind of question?
It's basically just that we previously had discussed the bathroom, the men's bathroom at Valley Lindo Park, and I see there's a modification there. I just want to be clear that that is a multi-user urinal that they're putting in.
It is.
There. Okay. All right. That was all my question.
So then you don't want anything pulled?
We don't need to pull it now.
Motion to accept the consent agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Dixon?
Aye.
Chairman Kelly?
Aye. 8, new items. Consideration and approval of resolution number 618.
Okay, good evening, Chairman Kelly and members of the board. I'm Catherine Drury, Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District Human Resources. Tonight I am presenting the tentative agreement between SEIU Local 721 and PVRPD. We have been meeting with SEIU and their team since the spring of 2018, and we've recently signed a tentative agreement this last month. Some of the proposed changes to the successor MOU are as follows. The term will date retroactively to the expiration of the current agreement, which was July 1st of 2018, and will last through June 30th of 2021. We have also tentatively agreed upon a 2% COLA to be effective the first pay period in July of 2018, and followed by 2 additional 2% COLAs in 2019 and in 2020. We have modified the promotion between classifications. We found that the old policy was too restrictive for the employees and to the district. We've broadened the requirements to 3 certificates needed, but they're not going to be the 11 or the 10 certifications that we'd asked for previously. Those will just be options. 2 of the certificates to promote to a level 2 will have to be technical, and 1 must be in leadership or supervision, or 12 hours of HR-related coursework, which we do offer through our consortium with Liebert Cassidy Whitmore. Our lead position requires 4 certificates with 2 technical and 1 lead, and the 4th certificate could be the employee's choice. We have added the language for on-call. Our past practice has been to compensate employees who were on-call 7 days a week. It wasn't worded in the previous MOU, but we've put that in there, and after some careful analysis, we've decreased the on-call days from 7 to 3 days, just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we will also have the district observed holidays in there as well. We've increased the denim allowance from $150 to $160 per year, and added a $200 allowance for park patrol every 2 years, and the lead ranger would get that $200 allowance every year. The amount of sick leave for a part-time year-round employee has increased from 1.54 hours per pay period to 2.76. And the last big modification was an increase to the district's contribution to medical coverage from 55% to 70%. Some of the other changes that we have made in this MOU were to get along with the Janus case and making sure that during new hire, the union is allowed to come in and speak to the employees. Lastly, this tentative agreement reflects there is an existing dispute over whether or not represented employees are at will and what the due process and appeal procedures should be. Our teams have agreed to compromise to move forward. We have agreed to ratify and approve the tentative agreement with each party maintaining their separate positions. And if approved this evening, we will meet and confer within 90 days to resolve this dispute. If within those 90 days we fail to agree, we will go to fact-finding and mediation, with the final step being binding arbitration. As stated, the board is free to reject the tentative agreement. In doing so, it would require the district to resume negotiations over the terms of the successor MOU. A retroactive COLA dated back to July of 2018 would cost the district a little over $18,000. While this increase to medical benefits, again from the 55 to 70%, would cost just over $46,000. District staff recommends that the board approve resolution number 618 and written tentative agreement that was reached between the labor negotiation representatives from the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District and the Service Employees International Union, Local 721, representing the district employees. If the board wishes, they may choose option 2, where the board may reject the tentative agreement reached between the district and SEIU Local 721. However, such a rejection would trigger the district's duty to return to the bargaining table and meet and confer over in good faith over the terms of the rejected agreement. Are there any questions or concerns?
Mike, you're up first.
Well, I don't have any questions. You want to do comments, or you want to? I don't have any questions for presentation.
Doc? I have questions. I have comments. Did you want to make
I'm
comments?
going to do comments later.
Okay. I don't have any questions right now.
I have a question. Why are you bringing us an agreement to approve when you're not finished? You still have a really significant issue unresolved, and I thought the purpose of the negotiating was to come up with something that resolved everything, and there's, as my understanding, we're not coming to agreement on a pretty key issue, and I don't understand why we're even having this conversation now. I get that you've been at it a long time and everybody wants to be finished, but you're only finished when you have a deal and you have everything resolved. And when I look at that list of things that are resolved, I think the things that are resolved very favorably and amicably for both sides. But I don't understand why we would say yes, that we're done, and we're not done. So why is that?
Mary's going to take this one.
Because I think that as we've gone with the old MOU, the preceding MOU, there's been something on the table with the at-will. And so that came up kind of late in the game of understanding of what the at-will and what that would look like. So in trying to move this forward on both sides, what we had kind of come back with was looking at moving this forward and then saying that we would go back and negotiate that one piece. So all the other pieces we had negotiated knowing that there was still one piece that was still outstanding.
You have anything else, Mark?
No.
Go ahead.
You want to?
No,
Are we open for
I've
comments
got
now?
something.
Okay.
So the at-will employment situation would be kind of, for the public, would be kind of left hanging out there for further negotiation while we would agree on all these other items, right?
Correct. Yeah, we would have 90 days to resolve that. And if we don't resolve that, then we would go to mediation, fact-finding, and with a final step, if we can't come to an agreement, our binding arbitration.
I personally like to wait till we get everything done before we agree to anything.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed. Here, I think, like Mark said, I think this was a great deal for everybody. I don't understand the one remaining issue that we have is this at-will issue, which doesn't even affect the employees. It won't hurt them in any way. It doesn't cost them any money. It's something that we've had here at the district for a long time in the past, and we came up with a compromise proposed solution, is my understanding, and it was rejected or whatever, turned down by the union. And again, it's not going to impact negatively the existing union members. So it's hard for me to understand why we need to approve a contract when we can't even reach an agreement on something that shouldn't have any negative impact for any of the employees that we have, the union existing employees. So I'm against moving forward at this time with the contract because it's not over. It's not done. We haven't reached agreement on the whole package for a 3-year contract.
Well, that's my concern. Is it's a 3-year contract, and we're getting into something, and we're giving them retroactive pay, and we're not finished with it in my mind. So I'm not even sure that if we would agree to it tonight, that I would even vote for the retroactive pay. Maybe a lump sum, but I'm not interested in agreeing to something when we've got something hanging, such as at will. So. I wouldn't vote for it.
Well, it sounds like I'm going to be echoing a lot of what everybody else has already said. But when I first came on the board 6 years ago, the financial condition of the Park District was significantly stressed as compared to what it is now. And we, at that time, had to lean on our employees to make some sacrifices to keep this Park District solvent and to be able to move forward. We fortunately have been able to turn things around. Finances are better, and we've been able to come up with a contract that I think is very beneficial to the employees. And it's taken us 8 months past the expiration of the last agreement to get to this point. And I agree with everybody else. We have come so far, and it seems to me like what's most important to the employees should have already been resolved, but we have to think long term for the district. And I think this issue of the status of employment, whether it's at will or not, is an important one for the long term for the district. And I think we need to resolve that before we can finalize this contract. So I would agree with everybody else. I think that we have a near complete but not quite complete contract, and I don't think we should ratify it until we have the final steps completed.
Looks like there's pretty much a consensus among the board members, including me. Anything further?
Do we need to make a motion?
I have a question. So are you not confident that this can get resolved in 90 days? I mean, I'm thinking about, the added cost of continuing to negotiate this and, use our attorney. And, I mean,
There's definitely an added cost to this. Whether or not we can get this done in 90 days, I'm not really sure. What do you, Mary, we do have our attorney here tonight, Colin Tanner. He's been representing the district for this matter, and he's the one that we've been in contact with. And so I'm going to defer to you whether or not you think this can be done in 90 days.
Well, as I think about my question's kind of moot because we're going to have to pay you one way or the other. I mean, we have to resolve this. I mean, we have to get it done.
Well, I guess I was going to ask you, are you asking, can we go back and meet and confer and try to get the contract resolved within the next 90 days? Are you asking me that if you approve the contract, could we get the items that are outstanding resolved within 90 days? Because it's really two separate questions.
Well, it's the latter question, but frankly, I already feel like I have my answer because we've been laboring on this issue for quite a while and we're not getting it resolved. And I'm like trying to think of what does it take to get to the finish line?
Well, if we have to go to fact-finding and mediation and then binding arbitration, it's probably not going to happen within 90 days. That process itself could take up to 6 months. So we probably have a better chance of negotiating a resolution with the contract outstanding than we do if we agree to the contract and then we have this deadline to try to negotiate within 90 days, and then there's mediation, and then there's fact-finding, and then there's arbitration, in terms of the time frame. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Anyone else? Then do I have a motion from any of the board members to approve resolution number 618?
I would like to make a motion to reject the tentative agreement reached between the district and SEIU Local 721.
Just a point of order, Mary, if there's no motion for an item, isn't it rejected when no one makes a motion for it?
It would be rejected, but I think it helps. And then if there's any specific direction, that would help as well as what you want us to go back and negotiate. So that way we know specifically.
Go ahead.
So I can make the motion to reject?
Yes.
Okay. And then we can talk about further direction later?
Well,
afterwards?
I think we have to find that no one would make a motion on behalf of 618 and then another motion.
Correct. Oh, okay.
So, board members, is there anyone who wishes to make a motion to approve resolution 618 as stated in the agenda? No one wishing to make a motion, that motion dies. Would anyone like to make a counter motion?
I'll make a motion to reject the tentative agreement reached between the district and SEIU Local 721 and direct staff to go back to the bargaining table with our attorney to meet and confer in good faith over the terms of the rejected agreement.
I'll second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Dixon?
Aye.
Chairman Kelly?
Aye.
So just for point of clarification, you want staff to go back and negotiate, and is it just to negotiate the at will? Is that specifically what you're asking us for?
At will. What is in dispute?
Okay.
Yes.
8B, next on deck. Cooperative agreement between Pleasant Valley Recreation Park District and the City of Camarillo regarding architectural design and cost refinement for proposed Plan 2 of the Senior and Community Recreation Facility Needs Study.
Okay. Chairman Kelly, Board of Direction, Marriott and General Manager. So what you have before you is looking at a cooperative agreement between the Pleasant Valley Recreation Park District and the City of Camarillo for architectural design and cost refinement for the proposed Plan 2 of the Senior and Community Recreation Facility Study. That's a mouthful. So give you just a quick background is we had partnered with Green Play, which recommended 3 levels of plans as we did the needs assessment. Those plans were anywhere from a little over 14,000 square feet to about 68,000 square feet. And when they did it, initially the construction cost estimates were from $15 million to $52. So this next phase is to actually look more at the design and further refine the cost for the Plan 2, which was the middle plan, which is about 32,000 square feet. So the The Senior and Community Recreation Facility Needs Study, it allowed the district to determine what its current recreation facilities are, if we were meeting the needs of the community, and if we weren't, what those were. So we included extensive community outreach, if you remember. We had feedback. We had a statistically valid survey that went out, as well as survey and information that came back. So what we did is examine the need to expand, repurpose, or build a new facility. So at the June 28th, 2018 special board meeting, the district confirmed Plan 2, which once again is approximately 31,000 square feet, is the preferred plan. And so on September 26, 2018, the city confirmed Plan 2 is its preferred plan, and then committed up to $8 million toward the cost of constructing the facility. Both agencies are concerned with the approximate cost of $29.5 million in the preliminary cost. So in order to do that, to further refine the scope of the plan, we received a more accurate estimate cost by hiring a qualified California licensed architect firm, which will be up next. And November 8th, 2018, the Ad Hoc Liaison Committee met to discuss developing another cooperative agreement, refining the senior and community recreation facility design, architectural services request for RFP and proposal. So this cooperative agreement outlines the responsibilities of the district as well as the city as part of the RFP process. So the architectural firm consultant selection process obligates each party to pay half of the cost of the architectural design, and then requires each party to appropriate 120% of its half of the consultant's contract. And if you remember, part of the reason we did that is just in case the liaison committee came up with something that we needed, that we didn't have to return to both and put a stop to the process. So prior to approval of the work, it must consult with the ad hoc committee, just like I said. So that decision, if we did have to do something, then would go back. And part of this is the consultant will provide 4 conceptual plans, and that was part of the RFP. Is we'll go through that here as part of the next one. So the do not to exceed price for LPA proposal is $190,448, which includes in reimbursables. This cost will be shared with the city, and the district and city will be obligated to appropriate 120 of its half, which means the fiscal impact to the district is $114,269. So it is recommended the board approve the cooperative agreement between the Pleasant Valley Recreation Park District and the city of Camarillo for the architectural design and cost refinement for proposed Plan 2 of the senior and community recreation facility. Any questions?
I have one. It's kind of an obvious one, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The 4 plans that they're going to bring back, they're not like 4 different versions of the same Taj Mahal design. They're 4 levels of size and incremental facilities up to.
Yeah, so each one, and I'll go through that in the next presentation. We actually have the architect, and I do have somebody here from, but they need to look at the design, a design for each one. 3 of the designs that we've asked for would be of new construction, and 1 we've asked that it be some way attached, or if there's an attachment to one of our current facilities or such. Okay. So they do need to look at all 4 of those designs.
Okay, all right. I just, having already examined multiple proposals, 3 of them, 2 of them which were useless, I don't want to get in that place again. I want to make sure we have a real scope too. Okay.
I understand that.
That's my only question.
I think the short answer would be all 4 proposals would have to fit within that roughly plus or minus 32,000. Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking at, mid-range. We're not looking at anything else. I mean, but there's different ways you can put them down, lay them out, different configurations and stuff.
Okay. You have anything else, Mike?
No, I'm just following up on the question.
You're up.
Oh, okay. So in our liaison committee, well, I'm not sure what, let's see, at this point, well, it's the next, well, at this point, we're just talking about the agreement. So I'm just going to stay focused on the agreement with the city. The city was there meeting with us. They're working with us hand in hand. They're in agreement to move forward and try to make all this work out. So I think I'm in favor of moving forward with an agreement with the city to share the cost for this design work.
You have anything?
I have nothing.
The chair just has one comment. Let it be known to all folks in Camarillo that when we use the term community facility, that the chair interprets that as gymnasium. We need a motion, do we not?
Yes. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the cooperative agreement between the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District and the City of Camarillo regarding the architectural design and cost refinement for proposed Plan 2 of the Senior and Community Recreation Facility Needs Study.
I'll second.
Director Misher,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Magner,
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye. That brings us to D, consideration and approval of 2017-2018 fiscal year annual financial report.
I think you,
Did I miss one?
C.
Oh, when I change my glasses,
changed
sometimes
glasses.
I get disoriented.
He needs to have my $10,000 surgery.
Consideration approval of professional service agreement between the Pleasant Valley Rec and Park District and LPA Inc.
Okay. Once again, that will be me. And I do actually have Jim Rarick with LPA that will be also is present that can answer any questions. So as you're asking more technical questions and design, he'd be happy to answer those. So we'll kind of go through the PowerPoint here. As I just explained, the district and city previously were entering into an agreement with this, or entered into an agreement for the senior and community facility needs assessment, which once again kind of went over, just as I just said, 3 level of plans, it had construction costs, and now we're into phase 2. So once again, the city met, the district met, both agencies agreed that Plan 2 was the best option for the needs of the community at this point in time. So on November 8th, once again, the ad hoc committee met to discuss the cooperative agreement and the request for proposals. On December 6th, the district issued an RFP for architectural design, and we received 5 proposals on January 15th, 2019. On January 23rd, the liaison committee met to initially review the architectural firms and discuss the interview process. And at that point, the committee went to a short list of 3 architectural design firms. The committee met on February 11th and met with all 3 architectural firms and went through an extensive interview process with those firms. So the interview and selection process, what they looked at was the history, relevant experience, civic experience, ability to complete the project on time and on budget, community outreach, what their design approach, and then the last thing, last but not least, was the fees and the cost of this project. So what you can see from the price is the 3 of them that we interviewed ranged anywhere from $145 all the way up to $285. I can tell you when in your packets it has there, of the 5, there actually was one that was close to almost 400,000. Or no, I'm sorry, 485. So the credentials, a little bit about LPA. They were established in 1965. They have over 430 design professionals. They've over 250 sports and recreation projects. They've, for here, there's many more, but it's ones that actually kind of apply. The Laguna Beach Community and Senior Center. They've done the California State Northridge Student Recreation Center and Brentwood Community Center, are to name a few of them. LPA will be tasked with the preparation of 4 concept plans, which must include preliminary site plans, parking, renderings, cost estimations for those plans, so then be able to look and figure out which one of those 4 would best fit. LPA will furnish final schematic designs for each of those concepts. The concept plans need to create specifications to complement recreation needs. So meaning we're not starting back again with a needs assessment. So out of the needs assessment, if you remember, these were the top items that need to be included in the space. So the activity spaces, lounge, game room, multi-purpose fitness space, and multi-sport gymnasium. So those were the things that kind of came out as part of the needs assessment as the top priorities. So once again, the fiscal impact, the do not exceed price for LPA proposal is $190,448 to include reimbursables. The district and city will be obligated to appropriate 120% of its half. The fiscal impact of the district will be $114,269. It is recommended the district allocate $114,269 from capital funds, knowing that we have $2.4 million and have the budget to be able to do that. It is recommended the board authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with LPA for professional service agreement to provide design and architectural services for a senior and community recreation facility. And as I said, I do have Jim here with us, who actually was part of the interview process, that would be happy to answer questions, or if you want to know a little bit more about LPA, can do that as well.
Anybody would like to hear from Jim?
Yeah, go ahead and.
Good evening, Jim Wyrick with LPA. And I would underscore it was an extensive...
Pull the microphone. Yeah, there you go.
Jim Wyrick with LPA. And I would undermine it. Yes, it was an extensive interview process. We enjoyed the discussion as a starting point. We're really curious as to what we will uncover as we walk the community through the process and see what is at the intersection of budget and aesthetic desires. So I think you asked about the different levels of design. I think it would be good to come across to a basic, call it a Honda Civic, if you will, that meets the requirements, and then what more do you want to do in terms of upgrades, and how much is the community willing to buy beyond what the basic needs are. Because you have a 31,000 square foot goal, and yet that could be, that has a whole wide range of dollar possibilities depending upon the materials and the specifics that go into that. So that'll be part of the search that we do together. It'll be a great process. Our goal is to provide you with options for you to make this.
Do you feel like the information that Greenplay got for you had you well down the path of understanding what it is?
Yes, especially as it relates to the public outreach. Yeah. So we will engage the community as much as you'd like in this process, but a lot of that has already been done.
You know, having looked at lots of these types of proposals over my 14 years here, I was very impressed by how specific to our needs your proposal is, and it looked very much not boilerplate-ish, and very much like you'd paid attention and done your homework, which is a step in getting us to where we need to go, because this is a hugely important mission for us.
Very much so.
And the biggest cooperative thing we've done with the city by a factor of I don't even know how much, and really important to the long-term recreational ability to serve the community. So this is, I thought the Village Sports Park was huge. This is way huger than that. So it's really important to us we get the right answers.
It's really important to us too.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great.
That came through in your proposal. That's all I have. That's all I have, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah.
John?
Well, I'm on the liaison committee, so we've met before, and I've asked most of my questions, so I'm very satisfied that this is the group that we're hoping to work with, and looking forward to working with you.
So are we.
I always look forward to seeing the name Greenplay because of the reputation, and I was on the liaison committee, so but I'm very familiar with your organization and things, and very positively impressed with them. So looking forward to making this happen. So.
Thank you, so are we.
I will add that I'm also a member for the public, along with Neil Dixon. The two of us represent the district on the liaison committee with the city in part of the interview process. And there were two firms, in fact, the two best bids were the two cheapest, lowest price ones, which was interesting because you would think obviously that the more expensive ones would be better, but in terms of our opinion and the city's opinion, the two lower price ones were the two better bid proposal.
Cost effective.
Cost effective. There you go. Okay, thank you. Okay, cost effective. And one of the big deciding factors going here with the recommendation for LPA is that, for everybody's background, is that they are essentially an in-house organization. They're a very large organization with multiple offices, but they basically are going to be doing almost everything going on in here. The big bulk of this work effort is all internal. They're not going to be subcontracting out to all the other various people and agencies and stuff. So from that by itself is deciding a good factor, but also with the fact that we need to move fast and quick on this. We got some potential other timelines that we're trying to meet. And so to move faster with this, if you have to work with outside parties and set up those agreements and be dependent on their time schedule, you get in a lot of trouble. But being an internal organization where they can draw upon a lot of different people to make this thing move along as fast as we can, that was another deciding factor in going with them. In addition to, they can do great work, I think, on this. So
Thank you.
that's just some background from
Great, thank you.
from our meeting.
Are all the photographs that are in my book here, let me show you, are these from your company?
Yes.
Let me make a suggestion. Please, on page 325, there's an indoor picture of what appears to be a gymnasium.
How did we know this?
Please don't bring anything back that looks like that.
He doesn't know what page.
Let me, well, here.
Section 2, design
Oh,
information.
here, he's got it. He's got it.
It looks pretty cost effective to me.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think that is up to your standards.
It's not up to my standards.
But it was really pleasing to that previous client.
Yeah. Let me just tell you, that's not what I had in mind. Got it?
Thank you for communicating.
All right.
Clearly.
You should show him the sports complex at Northridge. That'll impress him.
I think that's all we have for you, Jim. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Motion, please.
I'll make a motion to move forward and approve the professional service agreement between the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District and LPA.
I'll second that.
Director Mishler,
Aye.
Director Dixon,
Aye.
Director Malloy,
Aye.
Director Magner. Aye. Chairman Kelly.
Aye. Now we're at D. Consideration and approval of the fiscal year 2017-2018 annual financial report as prepared by Moss Levy, Hardsheim, LLP, CPAs.
Chairman Kelly, members of the board, tonight I'm going to present to you the fiscal year 17-18 financial audit. The audit is conducted yearly, and the audit improves our accountability, the ethical and professional practices of the district, the effects for the risk management, the quality of the output of the district on a whole, and it supports the decision-making and the performance tracking that the district makes. Again, the audit was for 17-18. It was performed by Moss, Levy, and Hartsheim with our lead auditor, Travis, who's seated behind me. The pre-audit work was done in May with the wrap-up in October. The audit reflected the statements ending June 30th of 18. It will show the district's financial position. It shows that the district is practicing with the generally accepted accounting principles. We had a clean, unmodified audit. Our primary source of revenue is our property tax. It increased by 2.6% during the fiscal year 17-18. And our unfunded liability is one of our major expenses. It increased 15.3%, and that continues to be a challenge for the district to meet. If you can see in this slide, I've compared fiscal year 16-17 with 17-18. And if you notice on line 3, our net change in fund balance decreased from 3.8 million to 700,000. That was due to the fact that in 16-17 we received Quimby funds. So that was part of that reasoning, which was recorded as revenue. But at the same time, if you look in fiscal year 18, our fund balance for the end of the year went from 10.6 million to 11.4. This is our cash and investment status as of 6/30. As you can see, we have 2.1 in LAIF, 6.7 in the Ventura County pool. We have 645,000 invested with multi-bank securities as CDs. Our daily operations had over 300,000 in it, and our money market funds had just under 2 million. This is the debt that the district has. We have the COP, which is currently at 12.8 million. It'll be paid off in 2045. The pension obligation is a little over $1 million. It will be paid off in 2022, and the accounting software will be paid off, was paid off, so the fiscal year 18-19 budget will not have that payment. Our assets exceeded our liabilities by $30 million. Our unrestricted net position is $5.58 million. And despite the mandated reporting on the balance sheet to show the pension obligation, the district continues to show the positive financial progress. If you look in your packets on page 404, and I'm going to have Travis come up and talk about this a little bit. You'll notice on that chart under other post-employment benefits, we went from 153,000 to 840,000. And I'm going to have Travis explain what happened there.
What page, Leo?
404.
Thank you.
Good evening. So the district implemented GASB 75 this year, which changed the way that OPEB is reported. So for those of you that were on the board a couple of years ago, and 68 came into play, you noticed the large increase in pension. So this was very similar in that GASB passed this so that there was just more accountability. So this total OPEB liability that's on the balance sheet now has always been in the notes. So if you look in previous years, you'll see a much larger number for OPEB liability than was reported on the balance sheet. And so GASB got a lot of questions for that, for, why are we showing this net OPEB obligation instead of the total OPEB liability? And so they just wanted to be more transparent and change the way that they did that. So GASB 45, which was the original OPEB GASB pronouncement, they came up with what they was called the ARC, annual required contribution. And the way that liability was calculated was you had your annual ARC, and then you had the the contributions that the district made on behalf of medical expenses each year, and that difference cumulatively was either an asset or a liability to the district. Whether if there was more medical expenses than the ARC, that went back and forth. For most districts, that slowly increased, and so that's why it was about 153,000 last year. Now, instead of doing it that way, they just said, we're just going to show the total liability on the books. This isn't an amount that's going to become due, but what they did is they went out 30 years, and then they did a present value analysis based on a lot of actuarial assumptions, and that's how they came up with the total OPEB liability, and that is how it's going to be reported each year now. So along with the net pension liability, there was deferred inflows and deferred outflows. So now the current payments that were made in 17-18 towards OPEB do not lower the liability. Those are now considered deferred outflows, and then those will go into OPEB expense next year. And so if you look at the note for OPEB, it kind of breaks down the assumptions that go into calculating that total OPEB liability number each year. So that's going to change each year. There's going to be an actuarial evaluation done every 2 years. And so based on the different factors, what medical costs are doing, the different assumptions that go into that number is going to be a moving target, just like the pension liability is. So yeah, I can't, fully explain all of the actuarial assumptions that go into that because I'm not an actuary, but it was mainly just a change for clarification.
Stop it.
Travis, so it'll only be updated every 2 years, not every year, not annually.
Correct.
Like the other ones. Okay.
They're going to, I think, give a roll forward number, so the number will change year to year, but there's not going to be a full new report that the district will have to pay for until every 2 years.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So continuing with this presentation, there's no anticipated fiscal impact to the district. And I'm asking that the board review and approve the financial audit for fiscal year 17-18. And do you have any questions for myself or Travis?
Travis, thank you for your work, and I appreciate the report. I went through it, and it was nice, and I not enjoyed reading it, but at least I made it through
as much as you can.
Yeah, as much as I could. My question to you is, and this is kind of a hypothetical thing, time forward, and obviously we have this CalPERS you mentioned. We've got this CalPERS issue out there, increasing payments and everything. Does your firm have any recommendations or options you want to recommend how different agencies should be looking to attack this issue or tackle the issue? I mean, besides getting a printing press and running our own money, but you see where I'm going. I'm trying to see if you have already had discussions or have some insight over maybe which approach or if any approach is better than some other approach to try to move forward in the future years to deal with it.
I mean, our main recommendation has just been when you're doing, 3 and 5 year budgeting processes is just to plan on employment costs increasing. And so just to make sure that that's, when you're doing future, projections, the contribution costs will continue to go up for the foreseeable future as they're continuing to lower the discount rate each year, which makes the liability go higher and higher. And so as that liability goes higher, the contribution amounts will, as a percentage of employment costs will continue to go up.
Has your firm ever looked at the option of trying to pay down some of this up front and seeing how that would play out? Of course, there's a lot of variables in the mix.
And that's the whole thing is, the variables change so drastically each year that it's going to be a continual moving target. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it would be a fool's errand, but there's not, you can pay down a chunk of it, but it's, it's just going to keep changing each year. So I don't know if there'd be, better ways that the district could allocate the money. As far as OPEB for 75, what some districts have done for that is they've put that you can set up a trust for that. And so you have the total OPEB liability, and then you subtract out the amount that's been put into the OPEB trust, and that can lower that liability. So that is one option.
Okay, thank you very much.
You have anything?
No, I asked him.
You have anything?
Well, Leo asked and answered the question that I had for them. So, but I think that it's easy to get sort of caught up in all this accounting stuff. When they start talking deferred inflows and outflows, I sort of glaze over because I only took one semester of accounting. So, that's not really my forte. But if you look at the
never know that.
If you look at the numbers, on page 403. In our general fund, revenues exceeded expenses by $330,000, and in our assessment district, same situation by $222,000. So we really did great last year, and looking at to kind of address your question, looking at the upcoming pension increases, they're relatively small for us, and the loan for the side fund that we took from CalPERS was charging $775. When we refinanced to a bank for $445, that loan is going to be paid off in 4 more payments. So that's roughly $250,000 a year that we're spending on that. We'll be shipping that money off to CalPERS to pay down the unfunded liability. But the unfunded liability, this year we're paying 7.375. We've been paying 7.5, and back in the day even more. So it's just like your personal finances. You retire that credit card debt first because it's the biggest interest. So the more of that can we retire, and what we did last year, which is bring our 2 at 60 and 2 at 62 plans to fully funded, and so that we're not allowing that unfunded liability to go anywhere, to eliminate that each year with our payments, and then pay down the 2.5 at 55 liability to the comfortable ability to do it. I think we're gonna be in really good shape. I mean, the entity, and when you read this stuff, and it'll be in my comments later, but the entities that are really in trouble are cities that have policemen and firemen, because they have those really expensive safety plan, retirement plans, and we don't have that, so we're relatively in much better shape. But the magic word is relatively, because it's still a very risky situation. So, but focus on how we did last year. We did really well, and congratulations, Leo, another clean audit. So, awesome. That's all I have.
Yeah, we've looked at this stuff before, and the numbers are daunting. It is discouraging to have made payments, excess payments into the liability, pension liability, and then to find that our balance has gone up. It kind of reminds me of the housing crash days when people had negative amortization loans, and that's sort of what this looks like at the moment. But I know that the schedule is intended to increase our payments toward our liability, so that eventually we turn the corner, and rather than our liability going up, it does eventually start to go down.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's is there, just if you could remind me based on that ideal, what is the point where we actually turn the corner and start heading downhill instead of up?
It's going to be hard to know, because so much of it depends on how investments do as well. So this last year was really the first year since 68 was implemented that the stock market returns were not up to par. So I would expect that liability to probably continue to going up for the next couple of years, just because they're counting for 6, 7, 8% investment returns, and then we have a year where we get negative. So that will be reflected in the liability next year.
Okay. So there really is no answer to that.
And unfortunately, I don't have a great one for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Were you done with your presentation? You were done. Anybody else have anything? I just have a question. It's a general question. We're like kind of like guinea pigs on one of those
Treadmills?
Treadmills, yeah. Spinning and spinning and spinning. Just when we think we've captured whatever we're trying to capture, we get this report that purrs. And I looked at a wheel that one of the other directors sent me, and it's getting close to the 50% mark. As that happens, does that exponentially affect us and our ability to overcome some of these problems that we're working on?
I mean, as long as the district can budget in the contributions, that's not going to be, a current problem. But I mean, yeah, as the contribution percentages continue to go up, that might, eventually take money from other areas for the district.
Well, will you somewhat say that in the last paragraph of the on page 404, where it says a new park and facility. I'm somewhat paraphrasing here. I'm not going to read the whole sentence. Facility development must either be acquired from resources currently available in the operating expenses, which means cutting down what we're spending money on now, or additional revenue sources must be identified, which is we have an extremely limited ability to do that. And so if the PERS keeps growing at the rate it appears to be growing, my question was, does that affect our ability exponentially as it gets bigger?
Yeah, I mean, CalPERS and CalSTRS, which is the teacher's retirement, even more so. We attend a conference each year where they kind of go over those, and I mean, the numbers as they are trending right now are trending towards insolvency at some point for both. The STRS is much closer to that than PERS. So yeah, I mean they're going to have to take drastic measures, not all at once, but over the years to kind of turn those around. So,
But since those are big voting blocks, who ends up being the ox that's getting gored?
I mean, yeah, it'll start at the bigger levels, so the counties and the cities, and kind of work its way down.
I see. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve financial report and the annual financial report for fiscal year 2017-18 as prepared by Moss, Levy, and Hartzheim.
I'll second.
Director Malloy.
Aye.
Director Mishler.
Aye.
Director Dixon.
Aye.
Director Magner.
Aye.
Chairman Kelly.
Aye.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you very much. Last item on the formal agenda, E, consideration and approval of proposed changes to the unrepresented employee manual.
Okay, again, good evening, Chairman Kelly, members of the board. Oh gosh, sorry. The second item I am presenting to you this evening is the unrepresented employee manual. This manual is a document used by the unrepresented employees of the district and the district management to outline the personnel rules and policies that we use to govern them. We last updated the employee manual in 2016. Since then, we've noticed the need to remove certain rules and place them into a separate document. We have been meeting with the personnel committee since 2018 to discuss these changes. The main reason we are updating this manual is due to the fact that between the current employee manual and the SEIU MOU, we had a lot of overlapping policies, such as vacation accrual and sick leave for part-time year-round, that they contradicted each other. The rules and regulations that have been removed from the employee manual will be placed in a personnel policy and procedure manual that we will be bringing to you in the next few months here, and that will be for all district employees. The next two slides will reflect the items that will be placed in the personnel policy and procedure manual, because they are items that pertain to all district employees, whether they're represented or not, such as leave of absence. There are FMLA rules and regulations and state and federal rules and regulations that go along with leave of absence. That's why it's going to be going to be put in a document that goes for all employees. The benefits we offer, not necessarily the level where we offer them, but the benefits that are offered. Personnel files, how we keep them, how you can review them, punctuality and attendance, off-duty conduct, outside business or employment, drug and alcohol abuse, business conduct and ethics, anti-harassment, and wages. Again, these are items that pertain to all district employees at the same level. The articles that have been updated are the introductory period, which was previously titled the probationary period. But unrepresented employees are at will, and by changing this language, we strengthen our policy. Also, management leave was changed. Since the last update, we were notified by our attorney that management leave has a cash value upon termination. So we're changing the way we have our management employees accrue their leave. They'll be accruing it at 20-hour intervals, so the max amount that we would ever have to cash out would be 20 hours at a time. Disciplinary action, this has been removed completely. Again, this is to strengthen our at-will policy. Conflict of interest has been strengthened to clarify or to clearly define what employees should do with gifts that they may receive from outside organizations. The Personnel Policy Procedure Manual will define the Form 700 policy and who will adhere to that. There's no fiscal impact at this time to the update of this policy. And it is recommended that the board approve the proposed changes to the current unrepresented employee manual.
Are there any comments from the Personnel Committee, because they know more about this than the rest of us do?
Well, it's necessary so that we don't have overlapping rules and regulations. And I think there's a few major changes in there, but we've been working on it for almost a year. And it just, once the MOU came about, we knew we had to make some changes. So this will handle just the unrepresented employees at the district. We'll have a basic handbook, and then we'll have this for the unrepresented, and we'll have the MOU for the represented.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Does that explain it, Mark?
It makes total sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And I understand that, like other things that we deal with, the changes in the law make this stuff a constant moving target.
Yes.
And also
And I think one of the things, and this is what we found out, and thank goodness, it's so good for us to change attorneys, legal counsel from time to time, is because we get different perspectives on what's their interpretations and things. And I think Catherine and Mary will agree that, there's little tweaks that we just need to make, and we made some tweaks, so.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I just need to, I'm still not entirely clear on it. If you could, will there be then 3 separate documents, the MOU, the employee manual, and the district personnel policies and procedures document? There's three separate documents.
Yes, there'll be 3 documents. Mary, do you have something else to?
Sure. I mean, I can talk a little bit more about that. So when we got into the agreement with SEIU, there are certain things that we have to agree to. So as you saw earlier tonight, whether it's wages, salaries, and those things. So what we started finding is the current, or the employee manual that we have, you have overlapping information. So you're trying to go back and go, what applies to them, what doesn't. So what we're doing is the MOU, which would only apply to union or represented employees, and then the employee manual, the unrepresented, would only apply, so like whether it's management, vacation hours, sick, whatever those would be. And then we have stuff that's state and federal laws, which apply to both. So FMLA would apply to both, whether you're an SEIU member or non-represented. So all of those things would go into that document. So what we're doing is all of these things apply to everybody. If you're represented, these things apply specifically to you. And if you're non-represented, then these items deal specifically with that group. So we're not going back and forth going, does it or does it not?
So employee manual might be better referred to as unrepresented employee manual.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be called,
Yeah,
the unrepresented employee manual.
Okay.
That's what this one will be called.
That's what this one's going to be called.
And
the
they'll
other
be
one
in
will be the personnel policies and procedures manual.
Okay, I got it.
And that's the difficult part, Director Dixon, is what we can negotiate and what we can't negotiate. And we have a little more leeway on the unrepresented as we do with the represented people, so. I have nothing.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed changes to the current unrepresented employee manual.
I'll second.
Director Magner?
Aye.
Director Mishler?
Aye.
Director Malloy?
Aye.
Director Dixon?
Aye.
Chairman Kelly?
Aye. Informational items. The chair gets to speak for a couple of seconds. I'm actually going to go ahead and combine the items that I was going to speak in oral communications at the same time. The other night, I was driving my car on one of the local roads here in Camarillo, and a guy walked right out in front of me wearing earphones, no clothing that had any reflective devices on or anything, and had no idea whether I saw him or not. About a month ago, a person on a bicycle pulled off of the sidewalk and pulled out in front of me. And at that time, and I already noticed this up where I live. I live up by Keto Park, for those of you who don't know. The street lighting is extremely poor. We have lights, but they're barely on. And I think that's because there's some energy-saving device or whatever, certain kind of bulbs they use. They're almost worthless as far as people who have got a little age on them and don't see as well as they used to. And then combine people riding bikes on these very, very narrow roadways with the small, like sometimes as little as 18 inches wide bike lanes. Everybody just needs to be really careful because it's hard to see people sometimes, especially when they're the number of people walking around at night. If you just notice that don't wear any reflective clothing, is at a point where something really bad's going to happen. And so I'm wishing all the people out there in Camarillo to take heed and protect yourselves and your children. That's all the chair has. Ventura County Special District Association.
We haven't had a meeting. We have one next month in April with a new board in place. I think with Mr. Malloy still as the treasurer.
You're going to get a really snazzy constant contact message notifying you of the next meeting.
Hey, the CSDA.
I don't know where to start and I don't know where to end. It is so busy. In the last 7 days, I've been in Sacramento, 5 of them. There's just a lot going on in Sacramento. Mary has been dealing with legislative on with California Parks and Rec, and we've been dealing with it with CSDA, and we're just trying to prepare for the upcoming next 2 to 3 months. There will be a lot of changes coming. I will give you, as we get a little bit more into them and we start having hearings and things up in the Capitol, I'll keep you posted on that. But I go back up in 2 weeks to spend 3 more days up there. So we're just really, really busy with what's going on. So, but I will keep you all in touch because there's going to be some big impacts happening. So. And I think we're going to hear the word homeless housing more and more than we care to hear it anymore. So, but that's that I will keep you guys informed. So, and then I've got some things to say in opening, in open too about CSDA. So
I'll make sure you get that chance.
Okay.
The Oversight Board.
There was no meeting last month.
Santa Monica.
Yeah, there was a meeting. I attended it a week and a half ago. This quickly, I mentioned before even, but the National Park Service reported that the fire that burned through the Santa Monica Mountains did about they're estimating about $29 million worth of damage to their facilities, bridges and other stuff, buildings. The California State Park System, their estimate is closer to like $40 million worth of damage they have to replace. And also, I'll give a heads up to staff. You may be one of the things that burned up was from the National Park Service. They have a stage somewhere where they put on musical events during the summer or something. And that stage got burned up, and I mentioned, well, we got a portable stage. So someone from the National Park Service may be calling us up in the office to ask if they can lease or rent our portable stage for some of their events they still want to put on up there.
Standing committees, finance.
Finance, we're right on budget on both revenues and expenses. In the second half of our property tax revenue is coming in into April, so we'll jump way forward on revenue side. I'm sure most of you saw the news yesterday that the California Supreme Court upheld the elimination of the airtime benefit, part of the PEPRA Reform Act in 2013. Basically, for those that don't know what airtime is, CalPERS had a policy where when you retired, you could buy extra years of credit because CalPERS retirement is based on your best 3 years of earning and the number of years you work. So you could buy 5 more years. Well, not surprisingly, the payments they were receiving didn't begin to cover the cost of the additional pension benefits, and it just added to the unfunded liability. So that was eliminated, and a firemen's union sued to have it reinstated. Said, we're protected by the California rule. You can't take away our benefits. And the Supreme Court said, well, that was a policy of CalPERS. That wasn't a negotiated benefit. So yes, they can eliminate it. So they did what courts usually do. They take a little teeny loophole and they crawl through it and say the big issues are left on the table, but we're going to settle this argument right here this way. And in this case, they settled it to the taxpayers' favor. So that's a plus. They also have other cases working through the system that are going to address this same issue, which is the fundamental issue for CalPERS to be able to survive. They're going to have to slow down the rate of the benefits. It's just very simple. I showed you all at our goal planning session the slide out of the investment committee where they showed if we had another market condition like we had in 2000 to 2003 and 2007 to 2009, either one of those two events would put their portfolio insolvent. It would put it under 50%. So we have 2 chances in 19 of being in much worse trouble than we are now. And in the last year, CalPERS has changed their investment policy to be much more aggressive, and much more aggressive means much more risky. And of course, we're on a record run of the stock market from 2009 to today, from the Dow at 8,000 to the Dow at 28,000. So we are overdue for a correction, and things are still super perilous. But so far, okay. The CalPERS did announce that, as Travis alluded to, in 2018 the fund actually lost 3.8%, I believe it was. But in January the market came back real big, and they're actually now for the fiscal year back at pretty much break even. So the thing with when you have a real aggressive portfolio like CalPERS does, when the market's up, everybody's clapping. When the market's down, everybody's panicking. And so it's a real whipsaw. I mean, the net worth of the fund literally grew $50 billion in January as the market was going up. But, when you're aggressive, things can go both ways. So that's all I have on finance.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Pretty much discussed personnel all night. Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Neither do I. Policy.
No, we're just working on
The same things
the same things
that we have been working on. What about foundation?
Foundation. Well, thanks to Megan, I have something to talk about. We had a very nice evening at Pizza Rev the other night, and we don't have any updates on the money yet. April 9th, please mark your calendars for April 9th, because we are going to my husband's most favorite place, Presto Pasta. And so we'll be going there on April 9th. And then Cronies is coming up again. We don't have a date yet for Cronies, but that was extremely successful last year. And then we have Food Truck Fridays is coming up this summer during July and August. And that was really fun last year, and a lot of people came to it. So hope everybody keeps that in mind. And our big event, please save the date for August 17th for our 5th annual Party for the Parks. It will be at Camarillo Grove Park, and very anxious to see what it's going to look like by then. And we're moving forward to have our 5th anniversary there. So we'll be busy.
You always are. The GM's report. Do you have anything, Mary?
Just a couple update items. Springville Dog Park, if it ever stops raining outside. We're getting close to opening that. We just have to put the DG down on the last 40 feet, which is right by the fence where all the trucks and stuff are coming in and out. Topsoil it, just test the irrigation, and then we should be good to go. Pitts Ranch, just a quick update on that. Engineers' final specs are heading to the city, so once we get that back, then we'll be able to move that project forward. Nancy Bush Playground, the playground is completed. The concrete pads over there. Right now working to get the fence out as well as the large pods, but once again, due to the rain, it's going to take a little bit. What we're trying to do is maneuver around and just put the fencing around the pods and potentially trying to open. So we're working on that as well. Freedom, right now, hard to imagine. There's a holding pattern until at least probably March 12th when we have some, when it dries out a little bit because there's so much water. But they have started, they've put the underground conduit in, so they've started that, and if you've been out there, they've skinned the areas for the infield and the walkways, so you can kind of start to see where some of those are positioning. The aquatic center that was reported earlier, slides are completed, pool just waiting for the wonderful color of blue. I know that March is all about the leprechaun in green.
All about the green.
It's getting closer, but we've also, in this time, also kind of spruced up the inside, painted the locker rooms, put some coat of paint on that, and tried to clean that up a little bit. And then the community center, the men's bathroom is almost complete, just waiting for final approval on that, and then we will have all of that project done. So well on our way, as Director Magner's talked about a little bit, was on a 4-hour phone call with legislative for California Association for Recreation and Park Districts, and there's over 84 bills that they're looking at right now. So trying to get direction. I'll typically have a phone conversation with them once a month. So what we're trying to do is decipher which bills will apply to us, which ones won't, and then whether we watch, amend, or what that looks like. So we'll be getting more information in April regarding that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Oral communications.
I have something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to prolong our meeting here, but there's an issue going on in the city that I think is kind of flying under the radar and is very significant to all of us, and that has to do with the issue of districting. I attended the city council meeting in January, where the city was faced with responding to a lawsuit against the city that ultimately resulted in the city voting to change the format in which we elect our city officials, the city council members. Previously, we were at an at-large system where each voter in the city, during the course of four-year period, 2 elections, had an opportunity to vote for all 5 of the city council members. Districting will divide the city into districts and will each live within a district represented by only 1 city council member, and you'll have the opportunity to vote for 1 single council member every 4 years. Now that this change is not something that the city council wanted to do. As the issue came up, 4 of the 5 city council members spoke pretty strongly about how they really, in concept, opposed this idea, that they all believed that our current system of at-large election of officials was working and was really the best way to represent the people of the city. There was 1 dissenting view on the city council, but 4 of the 5 thought that was really the best route. It would be to stay with at-large elections. However, based on the way the California law is written and previous municipalities that have tried to fight this, it's pretty clear that you can't fight it. The law is written in such a way as that fighting this would probably result in millions of dollars of legal fees and would probably be a losing cause. So they swallowed the bitter pill and they passed the plan to proceed with districting. But now I think the important part comes to the people of the city. the city held at their last council meeting a public hearing on the districting issue. Unfortunately, I think that was poorly publicized. Really, no one in the public seemed to know that public hearing was going on, and I actually didn't find out about it till too late to be able to attend. But I was able to watch it on television and saw that only 2 members of the entire public were there to actually present their speaker cards and talk about how they felt about this issue. One of those members of the public doesn't even live in the city, and he lives in Texas and attends all the city council meetings and speaks on every issue. The other member I actually talked to later, and she told me that the only reason she happened to even know that this was going on is she was driving by City Hall and saw on the electronic sign that it was going to be that night. So there's 2 significant issues to be considered here. One is that, do we divide the city into 5 districts with 1 council member representing each, or do we divide the city into 4 districts and have an at-large mayor? If you're in favor of the idea of at-large representation, which I am, then I think the one way to push back on this issue is to go to the at-large mayor position and force 4 council districts. That would, at very least, give each voter 2 people that they vote for that represent that have their ear, that can represent the issues that they're concerned about. So I think it's really important. I feel strongly about it in that direction. I'm sure there are other people that feel strongly about it the other direction. But I think what's important here is that we all need to be aware of what's going on and participate in this process, and keep an eye out. There's going to be another public hearing with the city. I think it's on March 27th in this council chamber. And I think it's important that the public know about it, think about what it is they want to represent their future, and to be here and express themselves. I intend to be here, and so that's what I have to say on that subject. I think this is a really important subject. Just to tell you how the city themselves feel about it, at the time of the presentation in January, the legal counsel to the city council, as they began the introduction of the subject, called this the single most important issue that they believe that the city council will vote on in this term. And if it's important to the city council members, then I think it's important to all of us. Thanks.
Let me go next, because my comments are on the same topic. Regarding the noticing, it was on the city's Facebook page, it was on the city's Twitter account, it was in an Acorn newspaper article. It was actually pretty well publicized. The problem is most people don't have any idea what it is. And so I'm not surprised that the initial attendance was small. The city is hired a consultant to help them through this process. Consultant's obviously very experienced. They laid out all the requirements by law of what has to be done, but what you can do, what you can't do. They showed samples of maps in different cities that had picked sort of different strategies. They'd outlined which one of those will work. And the council didn't decide the issue, but they discussed the issue of how many to have, and all 5 of them supported the idea of 5 districts and no mayor, because they want to take their turn being mayor. They see the value in rotating the mayor position, which obviously they do because that's their experience, and that's how they felt was the best way to go. They didn't actually vote to do that. So anybody that has different input, you know how to contact the 5 of them. Give your input and let them know why you think, and I think you made good case for the alternative. But there's a map available on the city's website now. You can go click on the map and download or access the map, and it has all the voting districts with all the voters in it. And my understanding from the meeting is at some point they're going to have a spreadsheet that'll allow you to click on the different
precincts and lump them into column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get some ideas of what the size is. Because the magic number is 13,040 per district, and you have to be plus or minus 5%. And the districts have to work based on the current numbers, and in 2022, when the new census comes out, all this is going to get redrafted, because then all the numbers will be different. They might have to move some borders a little bit or not. But anyway, the consultant laid through, and you can participate through the online application. You can go to the city if you're not a computer person. You can go to the city and get paper maps and get paper layout and calculate it, and you'll be able to submit your maps to the city and get them considered. And the consultant made a really good point. He said what most people do is they do really well with the map in their area because they understand their area and they give the rationale. And then they get all these maps and they say, okay, this made sense here and this made sense here. And it helps them kind of come up with things that reinforce the points that the community has brought out, because they don't know the neighborhoods like all of us that live here do. So I was pretty impressed with the process of how it goes, and there'll be 3 more meetings before they actually decide how they want to do this, and the meetings are a month apart, so there's plenty of time in between to see what's going on and see where it's going. And one of the things I also thought was interesting is in the points they made about how it's decided, they will include the information of where the existing council people live, because one of the factors that's accepted as being good is supporting the people that have been elected already by the people. That's actually a thing that you can consider. I was concerned that was something that you wouldn't be able to talk about, and everybody would sort of wink and smile about where the borders went, and magically everybody's in their own district. But it's actually okay to do that as long as you meet the other limitations to make sure that you don't water down the votes of the protected classes of voters, to make sure everything's contiguous. So that whole meeting is available online on the city's website, and it's a pretty good quality recording. You can barely read the slides. The low-res television isn't that great, but you can read it and you can understand it. So if you missed it, you do have an opportunity to get up to speed. But I think the 5 of us need to really pay attention to this, because as Lane will tell you, this brush fire is spreading, and it could end up our problem at some point. So we really need to understand how it's being done and what the factors are. So that's all I have.
This evening I just want to talk briefly. There's been a bunch of emails coming out, I think to all of us, about pickleball and the plans for the upcoming across our community. As you maybe heard earlier here from one of the speakers asking about stuff, if the people have questions about what's going on along Ventura Boulevard, they need to contact the city. There's various projects going on there. Those are city projects, not Rec and Park District projects. So you need to contact them if you're interested in pickleball for those areas. Obviously, anything we do here with a tent replacement for a gym will also include activities that would include potentially pickleball, of course, to try to as much as possible. And as I mentioned earlier today, there's a new proposed park planned for the Springville area, right next to the off-ramp there, a 5-acre site. And our board has already had discussions with the developer that one of the items we want to see in there is some more pickleball courts and stuff. So I just want to let people know that there are things that we are trying to address and not being dropped or left out. Thank you.
Okay, I have a list here, so I'm gonna start with our great parks person. I'm seeing numerous nasty comments on Facebook about PVRPD and their turf management, basically with the baseball fields. So I would like Bob to give us an update of the saturated fields that we have, and don't give us a proposed opening date, just kind of give us an idea of what those fields are like.
I left today about 4 o'clock and they were underwater. We had standing water on fields 1, 2, 3, 4, and Veterans Field.
Just let me back up. I think you're talking about Freedom Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that wasn't defined. For people listening, they may
Baseball
not-
fields.
Okay,
Baseball
okay.
fields is
They
what
may be
I
thinking-
said. I
okay,
said
no.
baseball fields.
I'm just trying to clarify for the people in the public.
Yeah.
That we're not talking about Mission Oaks Park. Okay.
I don't.
No, we're not talking. We're talking specifically about Freedom, and then I was going to ask also about Los Altos.
I don't think people realize that the water table out at Freedom is 44 inches down. So we have standing water at 44 inches below turf. That means that water has nowhere to go. When it sits on the fields, unless they're level as can be, they're not going anywhere. We can spend man hours and try and get rid of it, but we still have the turf that we have to, be considered about. What if we want to tear it up? We spend a lot of money on these fields, keeping them the way they are. We've had a very, very wet year. I can't get rid of the water. Yeah. It's not. I mean, it's just not on those ball fields. It's on the new ball fields. We're having issues. Right. We have standing water every park.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Bob. Because people just don't understand, and it's so hard for them to. They don't comprehend where the water table is out there, and Los Altos really isn't much better.
No, it's further down, but
yeah.
Again, it's there's a lot of foot traffic on there, and the more we put on there with more cleats, it gets torn up,
right.
And it's just more maintenance later.
And we spend a lot of money out there, and Camarillo Pony Baseball spends a lot of money out there.
Yes,
so, my other things are at CSDA. I'm now on the executive board for CSDA. I'm not sure that's good or bad, but one of the things that we're dealing with right now is setting up a trust fund for OPEB. And they have a very small group of employees, but they have no OPEB provisions for their people who retire from CSDA. So they're a little different than we are. They are CalPERS, but they're an association under CalPERS, not a state or local government under CalPERS, and it's a different section of CalPERS. But they have chosen to take before the entire board the idea of a trust fund. And they have enough money in their reserves to fund $500,000 to start a trust fund that will be self-insured, and it will, the way it's set up, the way it looks like it's going to be set up is it will be a very interesting thing. So I'm going to provide that information to Mary once we see how it's going to work. So we are different with OPEB because we don't have the same commitment, or they don't have any commitment at all to OPEB. They don't have to pick up anybody's Medicare or anything. So I'll share that with Mary if we get it going and things. So, public hearings. This came to my mind, I think it was in the January meeting when we had public comments about something we were doing, and we had some public concerns that they didn't know what we were doing. And I'm not sure public hearings are the way to go. I've attended a few public hearings that PVRPD has attended and gone to, but I'm not sure where we are as far as our policy is to have public hearings when we're making major changes in areas. But I also think it's upon the developers to tell these people that there's going to be additional things going on in those parks and things.
You mean the developer that put the pipe in for where the bathroom has to be?
Yeah.
That developer, okay.
Yeah, that developer. Yeah. I mean, they're selling houses. And people go there and I don't know how you tell them, oh, there's going to be a bathroom over there, or there could be a bathroom over there or something. I don't know how you do that, but.
Well, you could just do it.
Well, yeah, or just do it. Just do it. So I'm not an advocate for public hearings, but I'm not sure. I know we when we're working on Wood Creek, we had the person notify the neighbors and things of that. I'm weighing it, so I don't know if that should come to before us or not, or if we just let it go, but pickleball, I'm getting the emails too, and I'm like Director Mishler, you know, the city's dealing with everything over on Ventura Boulevard, and I like the idea that we've grown from 30-some people to 144 registered people. So pickleball is growing, and I don't know if everything else is growing like pickleball is. So we'll see. And Bob, thank you for the update.
Hey, Bob, have you got that, you know what I'm talking about? Yes. All right. Anybody have anything else tonight? Meeting closed. All right. Huh?
Leo?
No, I watched it on TV.
Leo?
I watched it on TV.